Hello and welcome to another episode of Lex Talk Podcast. I am joined today by Grace. Hello, Grace. How are you?
Hello. Hi. I'm
You okay?
excited. Yeah.
Good. I'm excited as well. Lovely to have you here. We did an attempt one, didn't we?
Yeah. Second time lucky.
Second time lucky. So we will get straight into it with some complex conversations. So, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's welcome back, even though we haven't got anything like done.
No.
Unfortunately,
That's all right.
we're here now to make sure
Got
that
some
we can.
bloopers from last time, probably.
That's good. Yeah, we will use them. So thank you for that. And we need to almost remember some of the things that we spoke about because we actually had some really good conversations.
I've forgotten most of it, half by accident, half on purpose, because part of me was like, well, I don't want to say the same stuff again.
Yeah.
But then also I forgot this was happening until yesterday. So.
Okay. So whatever might be fresh on the mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The first thing that we're going to talk about is your journey and how you got to do what you're doing today, what that's like for you, and I suppose some of the key kind of... Well, actually, we'll start with that first, and then I'll maybe ask some more questions on top. So talk to me about how you got to do what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I'm a sex worker and I've been doing that for about 6 years now. So I'm 25 now. I started when I was about 19. And I got into it during university, struggling with money, broke student. One of my family members got sick and I took time off to care for them. And then the pandemic hit and then I got sick and then I took time off to care for myself. And sex work was just a really flexible job that, allowed me to keep myself sustained during all of that and still now.
Was that something you did through COVID?
Yeah.
Did that help, if anything, knowing that if no one could go outside and more things were done online?
In a way, yeah. I think the industry did probably see a bit of a boom when everyone was just stuck inside at home, but there was also like a big spike in workers at the same time because there were a lot of people obviously unable to work normal jobs because of COVID who needed money, and also a lot of people who became long-term sick or disabled because of COVID who now can't work normal jobs, who rely on the industry as well.
Yeah, it affected so many people in so many different ways. It's almost strange to think that we managed to live through something that affected the world in such a way as well.
Yeah. And now it feels like so long ago almost.
Yeah, it does. Or it's like spoken about so casually now as well.
So much has happened since.
Yes, it has. Yeah, you're right. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in the industry that you work in is your very typical stigmas around it. What are some of the common things that you hear that you would actually say is just not how it is?
Sex work is paid rape. It's probably the most common one that I get. It's not. I'm not paying to be raped. That's not my job description. I didn't sign up for that. Obviously, there will be cases where people do things against your consent, but the same thing of like if a waitress was to get like assaulted by a customer, that doesn't mean their job is to pay to be a battering ram. Their job is still a waitress. They've just had someone break their boundaries while they were at their job. I think there's a lot of huge misconceptions about the sex industry. The idea that we're just like helpless victims almost, like we're people that need rescuing. We're just, people trying to make a living.
Yeah, and like obviously there's so many different levels of what you can do.
Yeah.
I've obviously started, like I've had previous episodes with other guests where you've heard about, what it is that you can do in that industry and how there's this like common assumption that it's almost, we're here to have sex all the time. And also that it's almost something that's done throughout the majority of the day.
Yeah.
What sort of line of work, if you're okay to talk about it, do you focus on? And how does that also affect the people that, I suppose the customer or clientele that you have?
Yeah, so at the moment I mostly do online fetish work. So I just sell like weird videos and like weird personal belongings and things like that. But I do in-person work on occasion, just not very often. And again, that is mostly like fetish based stuff. So I just do like weird shit for money, basically.
What would you say is the weirdest thing that you have done? Or at least maybe the weirdest thing you've been requested to do?
A weird request. I've had someone request minor surgery.
Of you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But
okay.
Obviously I'm not doing that. Like they wanted to be awake. Absolutely not. Anyway, we'll move on quickly from that one.
Wow.
The weirdest one that I have done is a guy in America paid me about, I think it was about £1,000 to control his bladder for the day.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I told him how much he could drink, when he was allowed to drink, what he was allowed to drink, and then when he was allowed to go to the toilet. And he would be sat texting me, like begging to go to the toilet, and I'd just be like, no.
Gosh, it's so interesting how I'm assuming that you took some enjoyment from that.
Oh yeah, it was so fun.
Okay.
Like not like sexually,
No.
enjoyment, but like it's just fun. It's funny.
Yeah, like, and this is what's really strange as well, is that, people don't acknowledge or understand that the line of work that you do comes with quite a lot of freedom and choice in terms of, what you say yes and no to.
Yeah.
But the fact that there is clearly such a demand out there for almost anything, if that's something that you were requested to do, did they ever return to do it again?
It's not the same exact thing, but yeah, we had like an ongoing dynamic. So yeah, we spoke quite a lot for a while.
So that was the next thing I was going to say is, obviously if some of your clients are abroad, some of the things that you get requested to do, depending on how that goes, I'm assuming that there are times when customers will almost return for more from you, even if it's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
So there's an element here of, for them finding something about your, I'm assuming, character that they're attached to.
Yeah. I think it goes a lot deeper than just the way that you look. I think a lot of people on the outside would assume that men are searching just purely based on looks. And obviously that is a massive aspect to it. Physical attraction is a huge part of everything. But I think what people would be surprised to know is how it's not, like how much it's also not that at all, because I've looked so different in the 6 years I've been in the industry. I've been a redhead, I've been like blonde, I've had black hair, I've had green hair, I've had no hair, which I currently have. This is a wig. And all through that, I've had the same regular clients come back and back and back and back, whether I've gained weight, whether I've lost weight, whether I've shaved my fucking head off, like they're still there. They're still interacting with me every day. They're still buying my content. They're still checking in to see how I'm doing, So there is a massive element to it that's more than just, you are blonde and you have big tits and that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
There's also that aspect of like, I feel like I can have a conversation with you. I feel like I have a connection with you. We have the same hobbies or, all of that sort of stuff. I spent like a significant amount of time playing Fortnite with one of my biggest subscribers because he would just play me to video games with him because he just wanted company.
Do you think that's actually a big part of it, is the idea of wanting someone there that they can communicate with? And do they ever see it as more of some kind of a companionship?
Yeah, I think that is, obviously for some men it is just sex, but for a lot of men it is more than that. It is also like, it's having a space where you can be yourself, I think. The patriarchy, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into, women and men and patriarchy and all of that sort of stuff at some point, but the patriarchy puts a lot of roles on men and women and what men are supposed to be allowed to share with the women in their life and things like that. And I think a lot of men struggle to open up to the women that they are close with in their personal life, but they feel like they can talk to a sex worker because she's being paid to be a confidant, essentially. They can open up about the things that they're ashamed of at home, the things that, they don't feel like they can talk to, their wife or their sister or, their friend about or whatever. And it's, I think it is a lot of that sort of human connection of having a place where you can just be yourself.
Would you describe that as cheating if they were paying a sex worker to open up to while they're married?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, like, is that just the only way they feel like they can have that outlet? Because as you say, patriarchy almost conditions men at times to make sure you don't open up to your partner because you'll get judged for it, and it's not something that men do.
Yeah, I think it's unhealthy. Like, I think it is unhealthy to have to seek basic companionship outside of your relationship if you're in a monogamous relationship. Obviously there's people that are polyamorous and things like that who that doesn't matter. And a lot of my clients actually are in that situation where I've spoken to their wives and their wives know that they like to do these things and they're fine with it. Sometimes they'll call me and they'll say, oh, take him off my hands tomorrow, whatever. So
wow.
Like it's so varied and people have different experiences, but in a normal monogamous relationship, I do think it's cheating if a man, pays for a sex worker. And I do think it's potentially a sign that there's something going wrong in the relationship. If he feels like either he's not getting the validation that he wants at home, he's not getting the affection, the attention, the intimacy, but it can also be more than that he just feels like he he doesn't feel like he can be himself anymore. Maybe there's a part of his personality that's changed that she doesn't agree with, or his views on something have changed, and he just doesn't feel like he can share that at home, whether it's with his wife or with like a whole family unit of, maybe he's gay and he just didn't realize until he was 35, and he doesn't feel like he can tell his wife, but he can tell a sex worker. So it's a lot of different sort of complexities where I think it's a sign. I think it is usually a sign that there's something that people don't feel comfortable opening up about at home, that they have to hire someone to get that off their chest with. But I don't necessarily think that makes it's a bad thing. Do you know what I mean? I do think it's a sign that there's something sort of unhealthy, but I don't necessarily think that that's evil, if that makes sense.
Well, I find it interesting because obviously knowing the line of work that I do, there's a part of me that's sitting there and thinking that men would go to a sex worker to explore and open up and talk about these things. But there's also this stigma around therapy. They won't go to see a therapist.
I think a lot of men treat sex workers as therapists.
So again, is that still kind of using women as being the emotional labour rather
potentially?
than...
But I also think there's something so intimate about sex that when you have sex with someone, even if it is a client, I think it creates a space where you're lying in bed afterwards, where you can have that sort of like pillow talk moment where you just sort of get things off your chest that like you wouldn't bring up in like an everyday conversation, or you wouldn't know how to talk about normally, that sort of thing. I think partly I think it can definitely lean on this idea that like women do the emotional labor of, taking those sort of emotional burdens on for a man. But I also think I think it's more just the idea that they don't feel like they have anywhere else they can do it. Yeah. It's not that they feel like they should do it here. It's they feel like this is the least inappropriate space to do it, not that it's the most appropriate, if that makes sense.
So like lesser of two evils rather than...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. When we talk about this industry, I think it's fair that someone steals the sort of headlines quite often.
Yeah.
So maybe it's worth just talking a little bit about getting a perspective on what your view is on the work that she does. Because I think as much as it's great talking to you about what you do, I'm also curious to know whether or not people in the industry have opinions on how other people do their work, whether that helps, for someone in your position for your job, or whether that, tarnishes it in some way. So what would you say is your opinion on the way that Bonnie Blue does what she does?
I wouldn't personally say I have a massively strong opinion. I kind of stand by sort of a principle of like not particularly to judge other sex workers the way that they work, because you don't know what circumstances have led them to working in that way. And there's this thing in sex work called the horiarchy, which is this idea that...
Oh wow.
So it's this idea that women who do less intimate sexual services, like a sugar baby or like an online sex worker, a cam girl, something like that, will look down on women who do more explicit sexual services, like full service sex workers, strippers, people that meet men in person, things like that. And they will have a judgment because, oh, well, at least I don't have to do that to make money. So it's this hierarchy. We call it the horiarchy. Yeah. And I think that can play in quite easily among the sex work community of people judging, oh, well, we do the same shit, but I get paid double, so clearly I'm worth more than you. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
You're in a more privileged position to be able to charge a higher rate and say no to bookings. Someone else isn't. That doesn't mean they're worth less than you. That means they're more vulnerable.
Interesting, yeah. Okay.
So I think I try to avoid making judgments about people, especially people that I haven't met personally within the industry. But my general thoughts are that she is an expert rage baiter. That's exactly, exactly what she set out to do, and she's done it. Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear.
No, go for it. It's fine. We can blur it out later with a few noises.
But she's an expert rage baiter, and she knows exactly what she's doing, and it's worked. It's worked so well, and I think she's also a really good example of the ways in which sex workers have to get creative because of the law. Because so we get censored off of social media platforms for the things that we post, but other people won't get censored for posting the same things. So our accounts will be monitored because we are sex workers, and they will be any time that we're showing a tiny bit too much cleavage, shorts are too short, whatever, post taken down. So what Bonnie has done is she has learned that if she posts something outrageous enough, it doesn't have to stay up on her account because other people will repost it for her and they will spread the message. She doesn't have to get any of her own accounts taken down because she doesn't have to be the one spreading the message. Other people are doing her marketing for her.
This is exactly what a prolific red pillar said and did as well about some of the ideologies that he has pushed out as well, is the idea
his stuff. He knew it was too incendiary for it to come directly from his mouth, you know, so he pushed other people to
repost
you say
and
it.
comment.
You say it. Oh, here's a clip of me saying this. Just float that out into the world. And it just spreads like wildfire because everyone's outraged and everyone can't stop talking about it.
So is it interesting then that, you know, would you describe, I mean, I would personally describe like the aspect of intentionally wanting to rage bait as harmful, in the sense that the things that are said to generate that and what it causes amongst you know, relationships or even behaviors amongst men, for example, especially with what's being said and their attitudes then towards women.
Yeah.
Not saying that she is a representation of all women, but sometimes she'll say things that basically affect a lot of situations that women are in because of relationship dynamics and her views on what should be done in there that she would happily do to try and make a point. It's interesting how those types of messages spread like wildfire. And we don't have the opposite in a positive light that will generate that, because it's almost like, well, what's going on there, right? And I suppose the industry that she's in is always going to make some sort of headlines with that, because, you know, it's almost like a taboo subject that people should or shouldn't talk about.
I think there's a level of it of, I don't know how to phrase it other than like society just loves to get angry. Like we love having a little argument. Do you know, we love having a little fight about something.
I do like an argument.
So like, I think she's like feeding the appetites of people who love to engage in this sort of thing. You know, people love drama, and she's sorry, I keep swearing.
Is this part of the industry?
People love drama, and she is giving it to them in piles, you know, spoonfuls.
Yeah.
And I think there are definitely things that she said that I take massive issue with, but I wonder how much of it is her genuine belief and how much is marketing. And I also wonder, like, when I see people saying, like, I don't know how to phrase it, when I see people saying that we should hold her, like, personally accountable for the anti-feminist things that she said and done, it sort of catches me off guard a little bit, because she's never claimed to be a feminist.
Yeah, she's never said she is one.
Like,
she's actually admitted that she's not one.
Why are we critiquing her feminism when she's never claimed to be a feminist? You know, so
yeah, because I think a lot of people are saying that it's like detrimental to the movement because she is a woman, and therefore it's almost just immediately assigned or attached to that movement as a thing.
Yeah.
I think that unfortunately the things that she has said, a lot of people will say that she's actually followed up with them with actions, especially when it comes to the idea of sex and how she, you know, will do certain things with men. So I think it almost then makes it difficult to give grace on the things that she says where you're like, oh, does she mean it? When actually the things that she has said have been very much backed up by the way that she's, you know, behaved. So it's kind of like, you know, no one really wants to take it seriously, but at the same time, they don't realize the knock-on effects that it is having, and that can actually be quite bad. You have an opinion, however, on the stunts that she...
I don't think it happened.
You don't think it happened, do you?
No.
As in the number, maybe?
Yeah, we can all do the maths. It's something like 18 seconds each or something. It's just not particularly realistic, is it? But I think people just need to understand how... Sorry.
It sounds like you're so passionate about this, though. It's great. It's great. Have I triggered something in you?
I don't know. I just woke up on the wrong side of bed today. I don't know. But people need to understand how really difficult it is to organise a gangbang. And that's not a sentence I ever thought I'd have to come out and make a statement about. But people need to understand how hard it is to organise a gangbang and to have 8 men show up on the day that they're supposed to, on the time that they're supposed to, with the things that they're supposed to have brought, and not like just cancel on the day.
Also get to that finishing stage in 18 seconds, as you say, as well.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking just even the logistics of finding 1,000 men, all free on the same day, all willing to be on camera, all willing to sign the paperwork. I think it would have taken her, as long as she's saying it took her to film it, just to sign the paperwork.
Right, okay.
But it's very possible that it did happen.
Yeah.
I just don't personally believe it. I think it's a stunt. I think it's an exaggerated number.
Yeah. Okay, let's have enough of her. Because she's already stealing headlines and everything everywhere else. But let's switch it up a little bit and let's move into an exciting part of the episode where we call it Let's Have a Laugh. So let's have a laugh. Let's do it. You have brought in some interesting things for me, apparently.
I have.
Okay. Over to you then. Over to
Well,
you.
it's that simple. I got some shoes for you.
Oh, for me.
I don't think they'll fit, but you know, you can have a look.
Oh my gosh, can I hold one of them just because I don't want to wash the mic? Oh wow, look at that. That adds on like, that would take me way over 6 foot.
Finally.
I don't think, thanks for that. I don't think I could fit my foot in that. Can I just see?
Yeah, give it a go.
Oh, okay. If I is this on the? Is it loosened the most, or is it? No,
Yeah,
it
I
is,
think it's
isn't
on
it?
the last one, yeah.
What if? Oh my gosh. So what is? Well, obviously that's not going to work, Alex. I just want to see how. Oh, it's not actually far off. Look at them
These would be like floor shoes, so you would wear them.
on the floor.
Yeah, like I like walking around the club or giving dances rather than on the pole because they don't have any ankle support. You can't actually pole dance in them very well.
How on earth is? Look, one of the things that's always fascinated me about women's shoes is how it looks comfortable to have your foot.
It's so comfortable, so comfortable.
in my way. Clitosaurus Rex was getting in the way. How you can be? Yeah, you're saying it is comfortable.
Yeah.
Where is the weight on your foot now? Is it on like this?
And
I'm slapping my foot for those who can't
well,
see.
it's kind of a bit like spread, yeah. It's sort of like half on the ball of your foot and half on the heel.
Oh, so it does still evenly
Yeah.
distribute, even though you're not flat as
Yeah.
such. Oh
Yeah,
my god!
yeah.
I always watch it and I think to myself,
Actually, they're more comfortable than normal heels because they're designed to be worn all day. Well,
look
all
at
night.
these. Look at that. That is just a beast of a heel. Is this called a stiletto?
It's called a pleaser.
So no. Okay. A pleaser.
Yeah, pleaser
Oh.
heels. That's what they're called. Yeah.
Right. I like it. How often would you say you wear these
For
the
photo
work you do?
shoots, very often, but actually to walk around in, hardly ever.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. So, okay, you're right.
But I have them more for like photos and videos more than like using. I don't work in a club, so I don't strip them.
So are you basically you're going to show me items related to your work?
Mm.
Okay. So was that quite a vanilla, as in like a 3 out of 10?
Yeah, well,
kind
that's an ordinary clothing piece, isn't it?
of... Yeah, that's why I was just wondering what's coming
So,
next. Okay.
let's see what else we've got in here.
The suspense.
I know. Okay. Do you know what that is?
Oh wow. Well, I can imagine I know where it goes. Is that going to go over my face?
No.
That bit doesn't go over my face.
No.
Oh, it goes over the front bit at the bottom. Oh yeah, because it looks like a... Right. So I'm not going to put that on, I don't think.
No.
Am I not? Am I going
You
to put that
can if
on?
you want.
Okay, go on, let's put it on.
Just step into
Can
it.
you say what it's called?
Yeah, it's a strap-on harness.
Right, okay. I wondered whether it had like a more fancy name. I'm just following the microphone as it goes over here. Oh
There you go.
gosh. I mean, I'm holding it as if I
So
know
just
how to put it on.
Chuck it on the floor and holes will become apparent.
Holes will
Yeah,
become
that.
apparent.
So we've got 2 leg holes.
Okay. Okay, I'm actually doing this. I should put the shoes on as well. On there as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
That's comfy.
Strapped up.
Oh, did you hear the belly rumble? Oh my gosh. Oh, it's quite shiny.
Yeah, nice, eh?
And so what
and then
happens
you just
next?
Tighten up the sides.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay,
Yeah?
honestly. I'm okay.
No.
I'll leave it loose. Hold on. Oh no, I won't. I'll top. Ooh! Okay, wait a second.
There you go. How's that?
Wow, isn't that shiny? And it's lovely, isn't it?
Draws real attention to one area.
So what's the purpose of this?
It's a strap-on harness, so you put a dildo in it and you use it to have sex with someone. If you do not have a...
Where does said dildo go?
So that ring, that's
That's quite tight.
Yeah, so that's the so you know if you think you have a dildo, it's got like a suction cup at the bottom.
Okay,
So that suction cup will go
onto
under
that.
the ring.
Wow.
And then the willy will stick out, obviously.
I can imagine it would. Amazing. Wow. Okay.
So
Okay.
that
Can I
would
keep
be
it on?
yeah, of course.
Amazing.
You can. Looks
Okay.
good on you.
To be fair, it does add a little bit of shine.
It does. It's like a
Does.
belt buckle almost, you know.
Yeah, do you know what? That's what it is. I'm just. Do you know what? To be fair, I forgot my belt, so that's what it is now. It's now my belt for these jeans. Okay. Ooh! Look at this. Oh wow! I know what it is. I just don't know the name of it.
Flogger.
Oh, I did know that. Ooh! Something like that, right?
Yeah, something
Why
like
is
that.
it done like that? Isn't it? It's like a.
Yeah, I think people just have different ways
like
of
a-
doing it. People, yeah, I think people
Oh,
like to have a bit
oh.
of finesse to it, you know.
Oh gosh. Okay. Because because it's quite. This is quite sensual.
Yeah.
In like a sort of if you were, like look, feel this.
Sort of tickly sensation.
So you like that?
Because it's not hard. It's obviously it's for impact play, but it doesn't feel like you could. You don't have to obviously, but you could try and hit yourself like on the arm like that as hard as you can. It doesn't really hurt, even if you sort of really try.
Yeah, like,
Do you know what I
know
mean?
what you mean. I'm giving.
It's It's never. It's
Got carried away,
intended for
sorry.
impact play, but it's not like a heavy impact toy.
It's quite. What's the word? Almost like if you had like a feather, just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
So it can because it's quite an intimate.
Yeah, it's a lot
depending
more
on-
like sensual sort of feeling.
It's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice and soft. I like that because it's more, like you say, it's a bit less aggressive.
Would you say this is more common as like a type of
Yeah,
toy that's
I would say
used
that's a
and-
very good beginner type of toy. Like a very good beginner toy is something where you can explore, because you can explore slightly harder sensations where you do give it a bit of a thud.
Yeah.
And you can also try the more tickly, soft sensations, and it works quite well for both. And because there's nothing really hard on it, there's no spiked ends or anything like that, because a lot of toys like that will have hard end pieces.
Okay.
So it does have a slightly more like thuddy feel. But because that's entirely just fabric, there is like no physical way to hurt someone with it. So even if you really sort of
Went for
try, you kind of can't really go wrong with it. So I think that is quite a good beginner piece.
I quite like that.
There you go.
Oh,
Take one
do you know what?
home.
I'm starting a collection here, aren't I? I wonder if we can make.
You'll have a full outfit soon.
Saurus Lex look a little bit more. Hold on, glamorous here. Ooh, here we go.
If you wanted something
Oh, God.
slightly more thuddy,
Oh.
you can have a paddle.
I was about to say paddle as well.
Paddle, yeah.
Well, that's an interesting word. Look at that. Lovely. Oh, that's
Yeah.
got some, isn't it?
So that's what I mean. So it's already it's a very different thud, and you can
Oh.
imagine if you could feel something there.
Oh my gosh. So is that for? Does this move on to areas of like BDSM?
Yeah.
Okay. But would you say that?
This is all BDSM toys,
Okay, all of it.
all of it, but all varying levels of BDSM.
That's honestly that
Yeah.
because it's a lot firmer, isn't
Yeah.
it? And I mean, you can even tell by said surface level would cover quite an area.
Yes.
Let's say. Okay.
So you can already see the difference of like the level of sensation that they sort of offer, you know.
Okay. This is really exciting. I'm just getting my own shop here. This is already really exciting then. I'm starting to get my own collection here,
Yeah.
which is quite good. Okay.
I'll give you some to take home. Any guesses?
I mean, it just looks like handcuffs, but okay. I wondered whether or not it was.
No, keep it
I was being
simple.
tricked. Go on. Okay.
Nice and
Soft as well,
Yeah,
you
soft
know?
as well.
Because like you always have the stereotypical sort of police handcuffs, don't
Yeah.
you? And then they're
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend metal handcuffs for anyone looking to play unless you're specifically going for the police vibe.
yeah.
I would recommend fabric or leather, personally.
Wondering if I can just.
But those fabric ones are pretty shit. I wouldn't recommend those. They were from Amazon.
I was going to try and put them around him. We've been let off this one. This is so cool. Look at all these props. It's amazing. Okay. What else have you got for me?
What else?
Just so I feel like accustomed to just wearing this. Anyway.
Okay. Last before last.
Last before last.
Penultimate.
Penultimate. Oh, standard rope.
Yeah.
This I can imagine is like one of the most common or popular things that people like to play with, because it's like an element of like submissive dominance kind of play, if that makes sense.
And it's something that you can have lying around the house that doesn't look very, you know, obvious.
Yeah. So what would this just be called, like play rope or something?
Yeah, shibari rope or bondage rope, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready for the big reveal?
The big reveal?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay.
All right, close your eyes.
Oh, I have to close. Okay.
Put your hand out.
The suspense is... Okay. Oh my gosh.
What's that?
What's that? I haven't opened my eyes yet.
Go on. Open your eyes.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Is this what they call a gimp mask?
Yes.
Oh my god. Because I can see the ball thing in the middle.
Yeah, ball gag.
Look at this. This is not something I'm going to put on.
Are you sure?
Maybe I'll give it a go. No, because it will ruin my hair. That's the reason why we can't do this.
We'll take some pictures after and insert them.
Yeah, something like that. Oh wow. See, because now I'm kind of getting an image of almost everything being used at once.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the general consensus of what can happen? Is like the multiple amount of different, toys that come together. It's all very. So what do you think is behind the idea of wanting to wear this? Like, what's the most common?
I think there's a level of like depersonification almost. I don't know if that's how you would even say it, but like a level of sort of dehumanization or objectification that comes with it, that sort of people want is in this aspect of play. Often it's men that wear gimp masks, right? Male submissives. They will want to feel like they are being used as an object for your pleasure. So they want to sort of remove anything that is them. Do you know? So it's I think it's just another part of this aspect of creating a character and a role that you're fitting. So when you're role playing, it's a lot easier to do it when, you've got a scene that helps you sort of stay in the mindset. You've built a set that is, it helps you sort of keep the imaginative play going. And I think part of the outfit's a big part of that, just sort of generally. But I think the gimp mask specifically, I think there's a very sort of probably more of the extreme end of like the loss of control and the submission for your dominant, and like this idea of like, I am just here to serve her, and like I can't speak, I can't see, you're blindfold over my eyes, gag over my mouth, like I'm just here to do whatever she wants for me, sort of. So it's this like very like higher level of submission, I think, for a lot of people that it signifies.
I've seen it where they maybe act like a pet, as in an animal.
Yeah, pet play, yeah.
Pet play as well, yeah. So yeah, I've seen that. Cause
you would have a similar sort of mask for that, but it would usually have dog ears or something like that on as well, yeah.
Okay, so do you think that a lot of people enjoy this because it helps them to have like a detachment from the everyday world that they live in as well?
You're not you for a minute. You're a character. You're someone else. It's like improv. You're just making stuff up, having fun with your partner in this space where it's just the two of you and no one else cares. No one's going to judge you. You can do whatever the fuck you want, like as weird as possible. And no one's going to judge you because it's just you and the person that you love, or you and the person that, you really trust to do this with. So there's no.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the things that people don't seem to understand fully, which again, same here. I'm not, aware of a lot of, I've seen things, let's say, but just a few things, wearing a few things.
A few more now.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea of being able to engage in that type of role play and feel comfortable with a partner, or even, well, not necessarily a partner, but maybe a sex worker, where you engage in that and you're not judged for feeling like you want to do something that's, different to the quote unquote norm.
Yeah, the standard. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I suppose that there's something quite empowering in it for people when they actually realize that there is a space where they can just do, be, or say whatever they want.
It's very liberating. Yeah,
that's
it's very liberating. Yeah. I think it offers a lot of space for people who maybe just don't feel like they fit in everywhere else necessarily. Or a kink is something that is, in my experience at least, mostly, like the most of the people in the community are queer, neurodivergent, disabled, like have, something about them that makes them marginalized by society in some way, and makes it feel like maybe they feel like they struggle to fit in a lot of like mainstream spaces. And the kink space, the kink community is somewhere where they feel really seen and heard, and you know, they find people that they relate to and have similar experiences. And I think that's what everyone's looking for, isn't it?
Well, and this is it, right? Is, you know, not everybody has to do the mainstream, you know, ways of sex.
Yeah.
But because it's always also been, I think, fairly taboo.
Yeah.
People are almost like, well, you know, there's not enough people out there who are open and honest about what they maybe would be okay with doing and would like to do. And because of that judgment, they keep it to themselves. And then there's a part of them that they feel maybe needs to be released in some way. And there's no space for that. And so this kind of offers that. Is this also like in relation to things like dungeons?
Yeah.
And so how much do you know about that? Talk to me about that sort of aspect of the sex industry.
What do you want to
know? Well, I suppose not so much how far does it go, but when you go into a sex dungeon, if you had never been before, what are you expected to walk into in terms of like what you're allowed to do, what you, that sort of thing?
So my experience is mostly with my local dungeon, and then with a few big ones, that, like national big ones that have host events for creators and things like that. But so my local dungeon is also Rebecca Goodwin's local dungeon. So that space essentially is 2 floors, and the upstairs floor is relatively open plan. The downstairs floor is all separate rooms. But when you first walk in, there's a bar, and then like a little changing area, and then you go like through a set of double doors into all like the playrooms, as they call them, and that's where you've got all the dungeon equipment. So there'll be like a medical themed room, there'll be a room that just looks like a normal sort of hotel suite, there'll be a room that's got, you know, like all the vac beds and whatever, you know, all sorts of sort of different theme for each. Generally what you'll find is that most people at these sort of events will like hang out at the bar, in smoking area, whatever, socialize, chat, and then you'll find someone to play with and you'll go off into a room. So it's not like you're walking in and bam, there's an orgy right in front of your face. You know, it's a bit more subtle than that usually. Sometimes that could be the case, but generally speaking, it's more like a social event where sex is allowed if you want to have it. You know, it's not like everyone there has to have sex, and if you don't, you're going to get kicked out, or, you know, it's just a space where if that happens, it happens.
But can you go with partners to role play, or is the point that you go there to find maybe a sex worker who is, you know, focusing on some sort of a theme, and if you enjoy,
in that regards, the way that it generally works is that a dungeon will have a set of house doms. So they are essentially like employees of the dungeon, sort of. So they will come to all the events, and they will be like on staff to provide, like facilitate sort of things going on. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be involved directly in it. So you could come alone, you can come with a partner, you can come with a friend, whatever. And you can either play with someone else who's there, someone that you've come with, or one of the house doms, or like any combination thereof. And it depends on the event as well. So most of them are just sort of like parties, like I say. So they'll have some sort of theme that they cater to. So it might be like, you know, the night that's specifically for gay men, or the night that's specifically for plus size women, or a night that's specifically for older women, or something like that, where, you know, they've got a specific sort of market that they're trying to cater towards for that evening. But otherwise, it's just sort of like a party, really. It's just sort of like a party, like I say, that has the explicit options available. But then there will also be events. So our local dungeon does hunts every year. So in the summer, they organise like it's like a treasure hunt almost. But the people that are hunting are the doms, and the people that you're hunting for are the submissives. So you send the submissives out into the forest of Derby. And then you send women out to hunt for them. So it's called primal play. Wow. And that's, you know, you like run through the forest trying to like hide and seek sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? But like sexy hide and seek.
It's just what I mean. Like, it's just amazing what is left to the imagination to then actually put into practice. But there's an audience for it. And it's like, until it kind of gets created as an idea, do people ever think maybe that was what I was waiting for to sort of find myself in this industry or exploration of my body, what I like and enjoy? Things
that you can see and you can, I'd never do that. You know, but then you see something else and you think, oh, that looks really fun. Or you see something, you think, I don't think I'd like that. And then you try it and you think, actually, that's all right, you know. So there's so much to explore that I think anyone who says, well, not to say that you can't be vanilla, because obviously you can and there's nothing wrong with it. But I think anyone that just says they don't have any kinks without trying to explore it at all is sort of cutting the nose off to spite their face, because there's so much to enjoy when it comes to intimacy and like, you know, exploring yourself and exploring pleasure. And why would you not give it a go? And I'm not saying you obviously have to try things you're not comfortable with, but if you see something and you think, actually, I do kind of want to try it, you don't have to try it with another person. You can try it on your own.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the best way to try new things, really, is to try it by yourself, because you're the person you feel the most comfortable with. You're the person that you feel least embarrassed around, you know. The least, like, the only person who can't judge you and go and spill your secrets to someone else is you. So,
yeah. And I think the word used was liberating. And I think that's really powerful to anybody who may be watching or listening, to realise that actually, you know, there is a place for you to be yourself and be expressive, where you won't experience that judgment. So,
And it's not, like I say, it's not always about sex for people. Because people come to these spaces because they feel like it's where they belong, but they might never actually have sex. They might just, like, I have subscribers that maybe pay for my content because they like my company and because they feel like we get along, and, you know, they feel in community in the space that I've made on Discord or wherever else, and they want to support that space, but they're asexual and they don't actually buy porn. They don't, you know, enjoy that sort of content, but they like the community and they like the other people that are in the Discord, and, you know, so they've joined and they pay just for that, just to be in the community. So it's a huge, you know, broad variety.
Well, thank you so much for all of this. Clitosaurus Lex is definitely enjoying himself, as we can see. And I appreciate you bringing in these props to talk about them. But I think after that, I need to exhale. So I think that we're going to go into the final stages of this episode, which is a favourite topic of mine. Everyone loves talking about it, as you know.
Yeah.
And that's body count.
Yeah.
And I mean body count in regards to sexual partners. Let's start talking about the fact that a lot of men change what body count is. Some it's penetrative sex.
Yeah.
Some it's oral. Some it's never ending.
Well, that's why I often find myself requesting whenever someone mentions body count on your live, because I feel like I'm like a little enigma for them to try and solve. Because I just want to come up and be like, I'm a sex worker. Guess my body count. Go on, figure it out.
Yeah, and
because they'll never get it right.
And the thing is, it's interesting, is that whilst men have reasons as to why body count matters for them, they also then have different definitions of what body count is. So then they also don't necessarily think that it's not body count that matters. It's actually the things that you might have done that seems to bother them anyway. I think for me, what's really difficult about it is understanding. Well, it's not difficult. I hear it all the time. But why do you think it bothers men so much?
I think it's just...
And I'm not trying to do like a devil's advocate thing where I'm like, defend them and like, you know, but I'm just thinking, like, from what we've heard, is there something that's more common than others in terms of the reasons they give? Like, is it ego? Is it insecurities?
I personally would put most of it on insecurity. I think there's a level of it that's also, I would say, male entitlement probably would be the way that I'd phrase it, of this idea that they are owed sex from you. They deserve it for some reason, but no other men do. But something that they've done means that you're not a slut, but you should be a slut for them specifically.
Yeah.
You should put out on the first date for him because there's something about him that's special. But if he finds out that you've ever put out on a first date for someone else, there's something, you're not special.
Double standards.
So there's this idea, you know, that they want something that they don't expect you to consistently provide.
Yeah, I think the strange thing for me about it all is that there are also a lot of men that have this expectancy of women to wait, you know, to wait for them, as if they are the sex gods of the world.
Well, it's very interesting. They have this idea that women should wait for them, but then when they're ready, the woman should straight away also be ready, and at that point should somehow be a sex god.
Oh, do you know what? That's an interesting one. I never thought about the aspect that when he's ready, there's an expectancy that she should be as well.
Yeah.
You know, that's quite an interesting one. Again, like the roots of body count, we've sort of explained the aspect of how there's misogyny involved because of how it links to purity culture. A lot of men come up for that reason because they think, you know, that for some reason being quote unquote pure makes you valuable. And I think whenever they start using words like valuable, you start looking at things like assets. So it's objectifying language, dehumanizing. But I don't think they care, because I don't think they see it. And when that's kind of put forward to them as a way of explaining that, you know, your views are upholding that kind of description or belief of women, they're not bothered about it. They don't seem to see that as being an issue.
Well, if I was to be quite cynical, my perspective would be that men who are obsessed with a body count of 0, I'm not saying they're paedophiles, but it is a very paedophilic tendency to want a woman who is innocent, untouched, unblemished. You know, this idea of
Well, it's also
pure,
calling it innocence.
Pure,
as well.
calling it purity, calling it innocence. It's this very childlike notion, you know, because what is pure and innocent? A child.
If the only thing that's changed from being a virgin to then having sex with someone is that there was a penis involved, if that's the example they're going with.
Well, usually it is, because they wouldn't count anything else.
So again, like, it changes depending on
This is what I mean when I
them.
say I'm an enigma for them, because I'm like, guess my body count. Are you counting men? Are you counting women? Are you counting non-binary people? Are you counting only full sex? Are you counting fingers? Are you counting mouths?
Absolutely.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Because I could give you about 15 different numbers.
And it's again different for each man,
Yeah.
right? Or each man, sorry. So the aspect of a penis being involved, making you then suddenly impure, if it's the opposite of purity, they're basically saying that then they would be dirty
Yeah.
because of a man's penis. So they don't even realize what they're saying.
I think it's more even than just dirty. I think that definitely is a connotation to it, and that's something that sex workers get told a lot as well, this idea that you're dirty and, you know, you're disease riddled as well, especially, obviously, which isn't true because we get tested more than anyone. But I think there's a level to it more than you're dirty because you've been touched by another man. It's the idea of this territory has been claimed.
Oh, so possession. I was going to say possessive and possession. It came out possession.
But it's this idea that, you know, he's already been there. He's conquered that. You know, it's this idea of like, you need to be
Claiming.
the first to have it. You know, it's this sort of, it's very possessive. Yeah.
It's literally almost like when you go back to the olden days of, you know, stealing land.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like, I've claimed this area, it's mine, and therefore it's again territory.
Yeah.
But again, then that's objectifying and dehumanizing, isn't it? So,
and it's this sort of like conquest mentality of, you know, having sex with a woman is something that I earn or that I achieve, you know, and that once I do it, it's like a marker that I've achieved something. But when she does it, it's like a marker that she's lost something.
oh yeah,
You know?
So when we look at this again in relationships, I think the thing I find interesting is that there's also this strong belief about it being a special moment. Now, I'm not going to demonize anyone for wanting their first time to feel special. That's absolutely fine if that's what they want. For me, it's more about the fact that they feel the other person has to also have their first time too. Otherwise, it can't be special.
Yeah.
You know? That's the bit where I find it's a bit of a sort of sticking point on their reasons, because if you have a deep connection with someone, you're in love with them and you want to be with them, if they've had sex before with someone else, then the specialness of what you're going to be feeling is surely based on the relationship you have rather than the sex itself.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think men, you know, draw a parallel between the two. I think they actually just, they don't view it as that. And so that's why I sit there and think, you know, what is your relationship founded on? When I ask men to tell me the top 3 or 4 things they would look for in a relationship for it to be successful, they never name sex. They actually never really name sexual chemistry or intimacy.
No, it's honesty, trust, things like that, isn't it?
Right, and it's all behaviour focused. Slapping the mic. It's all behaviour focused or character, right?
Yeah.
So even when they're describing their perfect or the things they would desire the most in a relationship, it's nothing even to do with sex.
Yeah.
Even intimacy isn't something they bring up. They usually say, like you say, trust, respect, honesty, maybe communication, which again is still you know, the way that you interact. So I find it strange that there's such a huge emphasis on sex, and yet whenever I ask them what they're looking for in a relationship, that never comes up.
Yeah, I think that's interesting as well, because I don't think there's anything specifically wrong with having sexual preferences or sexual boundaries with your relationship. For example, people who know that they're looking for a kink dynamic might say that I know that I'm looking for someone who's dominant because I'm submissive, and that's just what's going to work, right? And that's a fine preference to have. But I also think that having a preference that is exclusive in the way of what does it tell you about them? So as someone being dominant, it tells you something about the way that they will be in bed, right? It's a specific characteristic in bed that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Dominance. Or someone liking feet, that's a specific activity that you want to enjoy together, you know. So there's things that you're looking for because they're commonalities, rather than things that you're looking for because they're differences.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And that's why I always say that when these men have a judgment to make about women's body count, they want to go into this area of how they describe her behaviors and her as a person, rather than just acknowledging you're not compatible.
Yeah.
I'm looking for different things. Fine. I do think, again, though, when you go deeper into it, there's a lot of unpacking that needs to be done, because the reasons they give, as we've said, is quite misogynistic or insecure.
Yeah.
Rather than being able to say, do you know what? I respect the fact that what you've decided to do with your body, with other people, etc., is your choice.
Yeah.
I don't judge you for it. However, maybe I have an insecurity over the fact that, you know, if you've been with this many men, I think you might be more likely to cheat. Acknowledging that's a judgment, because they're not a statistic, that they're a human being, right? Is fair to then say my insecurity is probably going to be constantly going around and around thinking, is she cheating? You know, maybe my anxious attachment style kicks in and now I'm asking all these questions, and I know that that's going to affect us connecting. Cool, you've owned it.
Yeah.
Own it, move on, right? But instead there's these wild projections that come out, and it just continues this, you know, constant rhetoric towards women. And I think what actually infuriates me more about all of this is when men come up and say, I say the same to men.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
No, you don't.
well, even, do you know what? Yeah, but even if you did, right? Even if we're going to give them that and say you did, I'm like, you don't realize how that's not the point. You upholding not upholding a double standard still doesn't change the fact that your opinion should be the opposite of what it is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, don't judge Eva for it.
Yeah.
Like, you saying I judge men as well is basically saying I judge everyone for it.
Yeah.
Without recognizing actually that it's your judgments that are being harmful about it, but also the unawareness of the fact that it's always gone against women from its roots.
Yeah.
And so saying that you apply the same to both still doesn't change the fact that men and women are treated very differently from society because of it.
Yeah.
So it still upholds the cycle.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think it's something that's just quite easy.
I might be a little bit hungry. All this sex talk is getting me hungry. Apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. You were saying, sorry?
I think it's just quite easy to be very superficial about and just be like, yeah, no, I'm going to put an arbitrary marker in the sand here and I'm going to cut off anyone who doesn't fit it just because. But you're kicking yourself in the foot because you're missing out on amazing opportunities and amazing people that you just aren't giving yourself the chance to get to know. And I think it's not their loss, it's yours.
That's the second bit that infuriates me. What infuriates me about it is, again, if you weren't allowed to ask the question, and this is what I said earlier about the characteristics that they name, right? It's like, oh, well then if I couldn't ask, and I'm like, it's so interesting how your first response is also just echoing, oh, if I couldn't ask, meaning you want to ask. If you want to ask, it's because you have got your views and opinions on what it means already. And you're applying it to every woman that you meet now.
Yeah.
So again, focus on what matters, which is the things you've told me that matter. The honesty, the trust, the things that take time to find out. Those are things that are going to tell you who this person is. And, oh gosh, this is actually getting me riled up a little bit. When I've said to men as well, describe to me your best friend. And I've had men come up and go, oh, like, you know, he plays games with me. He's really cool. He's a fun guy. And
We've
I'm
known
like,
each other since we were 5.
yeah. And I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's your best friend. Like, I'm sitting there thinking that I must have loads of them. Like, I've got loads of best friends. Sorry, mate. I've got loads of best friends then. So what's going on there? And I encourage them to go deeper.
Yeah.
Just one layer deeper. I'm like, you know, tell me more. And then I remember this guy came up and he was like, men's friendships are really deep because, I'd risk my life for him. That's what he said. He was like, I'd die, I'd die for him. That's why we're best friends. And I'm like, when you first met him, you probably wouldn't have done that.
No.
So how did it get to the point in your friendship that that's now what you do because of what your friendship has formed?
So there's a bond. There's a reason you'd die for him. It's not just because.
Yes. And that's the bit that I try to own in on is like, they won't go deep. They won't talk about it.
I think there is a part of that is the vulnerability. I think part of it, obviously the way that you host TikTok lives is there's an audience and people don't want to be particularly vulnerable. Some people are very comfortable being vulnerable and not too vulnerable sometimes perhaps, but it varies. Some people come on and they trauma dump and some people come on and they tell you like as little as physically possible about their personal life, and it's just people's personal comfort levels. But I think there's a level of, I don't want to talk about, he was there for me when my mum had cancer or, whatever, because that's a bit deep or, that feels a bit wishy-washy. But again, it's this idea that being emotional is like mushy and female. It's feminine.
Yeah.
So I think it all ties back to the same things really, doesn't it?
Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong. I've got friends that I would be there for in a heartbeat if they needed me, right? Because I know what they'd be looking for. They wouldn't be looking for a distraction.
Yeah.
They'd be looking for an opportunity to just say, I need to talk about this right now because it's on my mind and it's like paining me in some way. And I can be there for that. So, I would describe my friendships as friendships where we have a space where we can express that vulnerability. We don't judge each other, and that's taken a long time. That's taken a long time to build up.
Yeah.
But it had to be there at some point. And sometimes that's because, you go through things with each other.
Yeah. And at some point, you have to take a leap of faith that it's going to work out. You have to be vulnerable in order to know that they're going to reciprocate it. One of you has to make that first move, not in a romantic-y way or whatever, but even in a friendship, you still have to make that first move to reach out to say, I want to be your friend. And that's vulnerable for a lot of people.
And that's why I say that because men don't practice this in their friendships, they then don't transfer those skills into relationships. And so body count is surface level. Like I say about their friendships, a lot of men's friendships, in my opinion, are quite surface level. They don't go deep, right? It's founded upon materialistic things. It's like, we play the same game with each other. And because that provides us with a level of sense of humor and laughter, that's our friendship. And it's like, so your friendship is based on a game, even though there are things that come from it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It just doesn't go that,
If
deep.
you don't ever talk about anything other than that, then
what would happen if the game disappeared? You move on to another game. Okay, so
you're friends because you're on the same football team. Okay, are you still going to stay friends after the football team ends? Or
exactly all of that. So it's deeper, right? And that's why when I think about the body count aspect, I think it's the same thing, right? Is that for them, they seem to think that is a woman expressing some deep connection with someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that what comes into their mind is there's a fear that because they've done that with someone else, they can't do it with them.
Yeah. And I think this also goes again slightly back into this idea that women are inherently more emotional than men and therefore are more likely to fall in love with someone they have sex with, more likely to catch feelings,
Oh, we hear all, don't we? What was it? The pair bonding?
Yeah, pair bonding. Oh my God.
Yeah, pair bonding. What else do we hear? There was another one. There's pair bonding and then there's... Actually, maybe it's just the pair bonding.
I can't even remember, but you get some real good ones, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, we I think they talk about the certain chemicals that get released. Now, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to say that I know specifically what's being said, but from what I've read at least and what I've heard, the same chemicals they talk about are the same things that get released from a variety of activities, and it's not specifically about sex that these are... Do you know what I mean? Like strengthened. Come back.
Well, it's the same. It's actually, funnily, it's the same argument that people make when they try and say that porn is addictive because it releases like endorphins and dopamine and things in your brain. Yeah. But it releases the same amount as if you eat a cupcake.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, unless cupcakes are addictive, which I suppose to some people.
I had one of them before we started today, to be fair. So got one of them in my system. That's what my belly's talking about. Well, look, it's been wonderful having you on here. I'm so glad we were able to actually get the episode done today.
I know, no technical difficulties, hopefully.
No, not today, absolutely. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. And, the toys and everything, Clitosaurus Lex is very happy with his, what was it called again? A paddle.
Yeah.
So he's looking after that for you.
Yeah, it looks good on him.
But if anyone listening or watching does want to get involved, please do reach out. You can get us on our socials, on TikTok, drop us an email, whatever it is. And if you've got any ideas or things that we could also discuss or people that we can get on, we'd love to hear from you. So take care and see you next episode. Bye-bye.